Hey everyone, it's Chris here at Fernglade Farm. About a year and a half ago I started taking photographs of the orchard or food forest here to get an idea of how fast all of the trees grew and what sort of climatic conditions I had to deal with. It's an interesting way just to get a feel for that. So most nights for like the last 500 days I've been outside with the chickens. You can see them all cruising around. There was even a wallaby there a couple of seconds ago. And I've just taken a photo of a particular point in the food forest. This is actually the shady side of the orchard. So there's actually another food forest to the left of this, which is in a much sunnier spot. And it's quite interesting. You get to start to pick up a few things that's going on at the farm here. One of the interesting things is how quickly the herbage grows in November and December. That's certainly a peak growth time for here. And you can see just about now, it's in December 13, it's actually quite fast. It takes a while to actually mow that down. I just generally chop and drop it and leave it fall where it's cut. Most of the wildlife can't keep up with the growth at that particular stage of the year. And you can see at this particular point I've now done the first bit of mowing. I was a bit late actually that year. I should have mowed it a little bit earlier, and you can see just how much of a dieback that's caused. And that shows up in quite a lot of yellow growth there. And just to the right of the screen I haven't had time to mow the last of that. I was actually experimenting with maintaining some of the herbages quite a lot longer. And what came out of it, yes, there was less evaporation from that particular experiment, but it was certainly a much higher fire risk. And you can see now in about February that most of the trees have received a fair bit of mulch, and you can see they'll show up as little black rings around the bases of the trees. Now, as April comes along here, you can see that it now greens up a bit. And that's because it's cooler days and there's a bit more precipitation. Some of the autumn colours are starting to show up now, and you can see a few reds and yellows. But by May, it's pretty much game over. And the last tree to actually lose its leaves is the very large, that's an ornamental pear. It's a snow pear, and it does produce little fruits, but generally they're decoy fruits, and they're there so the parrots eat them rather than snacking on some of the more yummier nashi pears. So June is quite cold here, but it actually the peak of the cold season here is in July and August. And generally by June everything's pretty much completely deciduous. And what's also interesting is you can see that I leave the deciduous leaves fall wherever they tend to in the food forest, and they basically disappear over the course of about 2 weeks. It's quite amazing how quickly things break down once they're on the soil and there's a bit of rainfall. You can also see I got sick of looking at that stump in August, and I ended up cutting it down with the chainsaw. So that was the first stage of getting rid of that stump. I cut it down, I cut the head off with the chainsaw, and then just axe the rest of it out. It's a very, very hard timber. But, it just gets done. And after a while you can barely see it was even there. So by about August, which is usually the coldest part of the month, or the year, things start to show a little bit more growth. And by September you're starting to see a few blossoms on the tree. And then by October and November, there's quite a significant amount of growth. By October, most of the fruit set's already happened on the trees, and whatever fruit is going to develop over the next couple of months into summer will actually be there. You can see again how quickly the herbage grows at that stage of the year. It's very fast growing. And this year, or last year, basically, I cut the herbage a bit earlier. And the interesting thing with that is it's staying greener. So if you have a look at the photos, it compares quite favourably between this year and last year. So we'll have a quick summary of the individual months, and it'll give you a good feel for just how quickly things can grow. It's quite amazing to see just the progression, and that's one of the reasons I started this particular project, and I'll keep continuing it. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.